Hi, this is my project on Death Valley, which is a desert biome. Death Valley is one of the hottest places on Earth, with temperatures in the summer can reach up to 120 degrees, but in the winter they can actually reach as low as 40. Some points of interest in the park is Furnace Creek, which is one of the only communities. There are the Mesquite Sand Dunes, Dante's View, which is basically the highest elevation in the park, and you can see the entire valley from the top. There's Badwater Basin, which is the lowest point in North America, and there's Zabriskie Point, which is one of the most popular places for pictures due to the impressive rock formation. Now, some facts about Death Valley is that it was founded October 31st, 1999. Death Valley is located in the southern California border. It has the lowest elevation in North America at 282 feet below sea level. Some interactions between organisms is the coyotes and mountain lions compete for the same food source, which is predator-prey and also competition. Moss grows on some trees in Death Valley, which is commensalism. The American badger will hunt pretty much any rodent it can find, predator-prey, and fleas drink coyotes' blood, which is parasitism. Some types of organisms are coyotes, roadrunners, moss, and Joshua trees. And overall in Death Valley, the limiting factors are mainly abiotic, like some plants and like flash floods. But some animals like jackrabbits have been decreasing in population, but the ecosystem there is pretty balanced. Now, an example of species in the park would be a coyote. Population would be a pack of coyotes. Community would be a coyote, a desert tortoise, and a roadrunner. An ecosystem would be all those animals in the community just living together in the desert. It is a desert biome, and the biosphere is Earth, specifically in California.
My national park is Katmai National Park, located in King Salmon, Alaska. The park is 4,021,327 acres. Katmai has the highest population of protected brown bears. There are several invasive plant species, including common dandelion, shepherd's purse, pineapple weed, and a water plant called Elodea. Average weather is 35 degrees. The weather is stormy and windy. Biosphere is everything on Earth, living and non-living. Biome is a large, naturally occurring group of plants and animals inhabit in a habitat. Katmai's biome is temperate rainforest. Ecosystem is a biological community of interacting organisms, alive or not, just like trees, mosses, thriving in the rainy weather. Community is a species of animals interacting with each other, just like a wolf and a rabbit or a bear and a salmon. Population is a group of the same species living in a similar area, just like Katmai wolves traveling in a group. An individual is a single or separate organisms, just like how brown bears are usually living by themselves.
Our species is the beaver. Our population is the pack of coyotes. The community is the foothills with all the animals and plants within it. The ecosystem is a giant sequoia tree. The biome is the foothills and the giant sequoia tree with all the animals and plants in it. And the biosphere is Earth. Some limiting factors in the Sequoia National Park are the black bear is dying out because of habitat loss, climate change, and hunting. Some attractions at the Sequoia National Park are the General Sherman, which is the most popular attraction. It is the largest tree in the world by volume. The park is located in Tulare County in California. The environment of the park is forest with foothills filled with shrubs and small plants. The climate is cool and rainy during the winters. You can hike Middle Fork Trail all year long. The park was established September 25th in 1890. The population dynamics are because of all the tall trees, they are blocking the sunlight to the smaller plants that are on the ground. And because of this, these plants need to either not use any sunlight in order to grow, or they will die off. The producers and the consumers in Sequoia National Park our consumers are the black bear, the bobcat, and the gray fox. And then the producers would be the willow tree, the sequoia, and the shrubs. Biotic factors are birds, spiders, bats, and rodents. And the biotic factors are the sun, water, wind, temperature, and then interactions between organisms. The black bear eats spiders out of the sequoia tree, which is predator prey. The gray fox eats birds and rodents out of the sequoia tree as well, which is also predator prey. And then the gray fox uses the willow tree as shelter, which is commensalism.
So, I have researched Acadia National Park, and some of the abiotic factors in Acadia Park is dirt, sunlight, water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other gases. And some of the biotic factors are animals like raccoons, black bears, deer, and puffins, or plants, which is mostly birch trees and grass. Some of the limiting factors in Acadia National Park is polluted water. Shit, I need to start over because I said Acadia like.
My national park is the Hawaiian Volcanoes National Park. It is located on the Big Island of Hawaii and was founded in 1916. It covers over 505 square miles and has 2 active volcanoes on it, Mauna Loa and Kilauea, which may be some points of interest. The climate year-round is temperate, and it only varies around 10 degrees. It also rains quite a bit and is always chilly. For individual, this is the Hawaiian hawk, also called Buteo solitarius. It is only found on the island of Hawaii and feeds on predominantly smaller avian prey, such as smaller birds and other things. For population, there are around 3,000 members of the species, and it is listed as endangered due to the fact that its habitat is rapidly being destroyed, and it already has a small area to populate. For community, some interactions are that the hawk would eat the rat, would hunt the rat would forage for small plants and nuts and fruits that it could find on the ground, on the forest floor. The wild pig, would forage for small roots and other plants that it could eat, and the bat would swoop around trying to catch flies that live in the forest. In the ecosystem, some animals are the red phalarope, this duck-like creature, Hawaiian hoary bats, which are these, hanging from a tree, the Hawaiian hawk, seen here, and the feral goat, which was introduced to the island when settlers came. Some plants are the wild mustard and rain tree. Some limiting factors in the area are sunlight, since a lot of the trees go up very high and cover most of the ground from sunlight, water, and space, because there is not that much space for things to grow. Other limiting factors are soil, since the bigger plants tend to take up all the nutrients from the nutrient-rich soil. For biome, the park is covered in a lush rainforest, tropical rainforest. It is warm all year long and receives 80 to 400 inches of rain every year. The range for tropical rainforests are very small, and they are usually found near the equator. The biosphere, then, is Earth, basically, where every living being is located. Thank you.
My park is Pinnacles National Park, and it's in San Benito, California. This is a species. It's a gopher snake. It's a group of organisms so similar to each other that they can breed and produce offspring. The gopher snakes are able to reproduce because they are the same animal. This is my population. It's a group of individuals that belong to the same species and live in the same area. This is the community. So there's the snake and then there's the tarantulas. It's 2 or more species living together in a certain area. An example of this is the tarantula and the gopher snake. They live together on the ground of the park. This is the ecosystem. It's a group of all the animals that live together in a physical environment. An example of this is hawks, spiders, bobcats, bats, frogs, and snakes living together amongst the pinnacles of the park. The snakes use the rocks for shelter and protection. A group of this is the biome. It's a group of ecosystems that have the same climate and similar dominant communities. The biome of the pinnacles is chaparral, which is a grassland, and this is the biosphere. Our biosphere is the Earth, and it contains land, water, and air.
This is my Glacier National Park project. Glacier National Park was originally founded in the late 1800s. It is commonly visited for hiking and its many valleys. My species is the bighorn sheep. It is an herbivore. Its scientific name is Ovis candidus, and it is one of the many mammals that live here among the mountains. The population is multiple of the bighorn sheep that live throughout the mountains together. My community is the coyote, a bighorn sheep, and an elk that share the Rocky Mountains together. My ecosystem is fish, bunnies, the bighorn sheep, a bear, and another elk, and many birds among the Rocky Mountains. So here there is a bunny eating grass. There is a bear eating a fish. There's a little parasite on the elk, and the elk is also eating grass. The birds are flying over the Rocky Mountains, and they're all living together, even if they fight for the grass or the fish. My biome is the Rocky Mountains, and it is pretty cool. The biosphere is just the Earth. A few limiting factors are the climate, the elevation of the mountains. So if the animals were to go too high, the elevation could be a problem for breathing. And the air quality up in the mountains, because if it's smoky, then the air quality is going to be even worse higher up. And the water quality, because if the water is bad, the animals won't be able to drink it.
Hi, I'm Claire, and this is my national park project. I chose the North Cascades National Park, which is a forest biome located in Washington. It was established October 2nd, 1968. The North Cascades has mountains, rivers, and valleys great for activities. Visitors' point of interest include canoeing the Skagit River, climbing Cascadian Rock, and backpacking. The weather from autumn to spring is relatively cold and often snows. From mid-June to late September, the weather is the nicest. I chose the Cascade red fox as my animal. The taxonomic classification is Vulpes casadinus. The red fox was nearly hunted to extinction for their fur and still remains an endangered species. Interactions between organisms include a bear hunting a fish, a fox eating a weasel, and a black-tailed deer eating flowers. The bear hunting fish and fox eating weasel are examples of predator-prey. The black-tailed deer eating flowers is herbivory. Flowers and trees are producers, while the Cascade red fox and deer are consumers. Abiotic factors are climate, water, sunlight, and wind. Limiting factors are space, climate, and competition for food. Thanks for listening.
For my project, I did the Haleakala National Park located in Maui, Hawaii. It was first established on August 1st, 1916. It has 5 biomes, including the tropical dry forest, which is what I did, the rainforest, and the alpine biome, which is the most popular. The average rainfall is 20 to 60 inches of rain each year, and the average temperature ranges from 45 degrees Fahrenheit to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Visitors usually watch the sunrise and sunsets, taking hikes and camping in the 2 campsites in the park. For my species, I drew the nene bird, and it's a herbivore, so it eats leaves, seeds, fruit, flowers, and shrubs. For communities, I drew a mongoose eating its prey, which is a worm, and owls also eat worms, so their relationship between the mongoose and owls are competition. And I drew another mongoose eating mice because that's their prey. And for the cattle, I drew them eating flowers, and the birds, the nene birds, also eat flowers, so their relationship is mutualism. And for ecosystem, I drew sunlight and water and rocks because those are all abiotic factors. And I just drew the same things here also as the animals in the communities chart. And for biome, this is basically the biome in the dry forest biome for the park. And for biosphere, I drew the earth. Thank you. Thanks, Claire.
Hello, I'm Jonathan, and these are the ecological levels of the Zion National Park. A little insight in the park. The park is located in southwest Utah. It was established in November 19th, 1919. The climate depends on the elevation mostly, and some points of interest are the Narrows, the Emerald Pool Trails, and Angel's Landing. In individual, you have the bighorn sheep. Bighorn sheep are abundant throughout the park. Their population has grew from 400 in 2015, and wildlife biologists are even worried about high population growth. In population, you have more bighorn sheep. Another fact about them is that they live on the east side of Zion and use their gripped hoofs to evade predators in rocky terrain. In community, you have animals interacting with each other. For example, a predator-prey interaction would be the mountain lion hunting the bighorn sheep. An example of commensalism would be the bats using the juniper tree for sleeping and having shade throughout the hot sun. In ecosystem, you have, again, animals interacting not just with each other this time, but within the environment. One such example would be an owl burying itself in cactus to stay cool throughout the hot sun, which is always present. Beetles also decompose animal corpses in the desert for their source of food. In biome, you have the desert biome, which is just very plain, other than cacti, which are very abundant throughout the park, but not much other than plants in the extremely hot sun. Finally, you have the biosphere, which are parts of land, sea, and atmosphere where organisms are able to live. Thank you.
Okay, so the national park we're focusing on is the Dry Tortugas National Park. The national park is located in Florida. A species is a group of organisms that can breed with one another because they're similar. Where you can see right here which the species is the leatherback sea turtle. Population is a group of individuals that can breed and live in the same area or the same place. A community is different living organisms living in the same place, such as you can see in the picture, there's fish, there's an octopus, there's a leatherback sea turtle, and a nurse shark. An ecosystem is a collection of all organisms living with abiotic and biotic factors. As you can see below, there's some abiotic factors, which is the rock, water, and other hard surfaces the coral reef has attached on. A biome is a group of ecosystems that have the same climate and same domain or same communities. The biome we have here is an aquatic because everything's in the water. As you can see, coral can only grow in water, and so can fish. The biosphere is the earth because all combined portions of the earth. Because the biosphere is all of the combined portions of the earth where life lives, including land, water, and air. The interactions we have are, the first interaction we have is a fish and a leatherback sea turtle, which is a predator and prey relationship because the leatherback sea turtle benefits while the fish is impacted in a negative way, which is a predator and prey relationship. Same thing with the octopus and the mussel, which because the octopus benefits in a good way while the mussel doesn't benefits in a negative way. A mutual relationship I have in my pyramid is a clownfish and a sea anemone because it's a mutualism relationship because both of them are protected and benefit because they both protect each other from other predators. The last interaction we have here is a leatherback sea turtle and a crab, which is also a predator and prey relationship because the leatherback sea turtle benefits while the crab is benefit in a negative, doesn't really benefit. It's harmed in a negative way. Why you would like to come to the Dry Tortugas National Parks and explore the coral reef is because you can go snorkeling and studying marine biology life. Marine life. That's all.
4, 3, 2, 1.
My national park is the Channel Island National Park. It's located off the coast of Southern California on Santa Cruz Island. The park was established on March 5th, 1980, and is about 3 times the size of Manhattan. One of the top tourist sites is the Panic Caves, which is one of the largest known underwater caves in the world. The park also has a multitude of camping spots. With cool, wet winters and an average of 8 to 40 inches of annual rain, you can also enjoy hot, dry summers. This type of climate only occurs in 5 regions of the world, including parts of California, along the Mediterranean Sea, central Chile, parts of southwestern and South America, South Australia, and Southwest Cape regions of South Africa. With global climate changes, the park has a chance of being affected. With warming ocean temperatures, ocean acidification, sea levels rising, and weather patterns changing, the marine life is at stake. The park can also be affected by weather, resources, marine currents, nutrients availability, and the production and distribution of marine species. It could also intensify fires and storms, which increases the damage done to the park. An invasive species in the park is harding grass. It creates a fire hazard due to the dryness of the plant. It was introduced to the park in 1982 and outcompetes native species for space. The park also has the greatest number of plant and animal species out of all the Channel Islands, including 60 endangered or unique species. Some interactions on the island and in the park are sea urchins and a rock, which is commensation because the rock is not hard, but the sea urchin has a home. Another is large dolphins and sea lions, which is parasitism because some dolphins attack sea lions for food. Predator prey would be dolphin and some assortments of fish. Some limiting factors is the island's carrying capacity, human and animal population, and natural resources. Some biotic factors are the dolphins, gray whales, and sea urchins. Some abiotic factors are the rocks, the land, and the ocean. Some consumers are the dolphins and sea urchins. Some producers are the kelp forests and other plant life. The species I chose is the common dolphin, or Delphinius per its scientific name. A population of dolphins is generally referred to as a pod, which is basically a group of dolphins. In a community, dolphins are usually mellow towards their neighboring species unless they are hunting, of course. In an ecosystem, dolphins only have a chance to interact with the marine part because terrestrial life is usually unreachable to them. The park is in the Mediterranean biome, which is a temperate biome with hot and dry summers.
Hi, my name is Injay Huang, and these are the ecological levels in Acadia National Park. The park is located along the coast of Maine and has a very diverse ecosystem. One of the main predators in Acadia is the bald eagle. For population, we have a group of bald eagles, and this creates competition for food and resources between the eagle population. Community, or an interacting group of various living organisms in a common location, is a predator-prey relationship between a bald eagle and a rabbit. The bald eagle eats the rabbit eats the grass, and the moose eats the leaves from the bush and the trees. For ecosystem, or a biological community of interacting organisms in their physical environment, there's 2 more predator-prey relationships consisting of a black bear and a brook trout and a red fox and a mouse. For biome, a community of plants and animals that have common characteristics for the environment they exist in is a picture of the park. And for biosphere, the regions of the surface, atmosphere, and hydrosphere of the Earth occupied by living organisms. So basically, all life on Earth is just a picture of the Earth. Thank you.
I'm Lily Moore, and this is my national park, the North Cascades. The North Cascades was founded on October 2nd, 1968, and is located in Washington. The organism that I have chosen to show throughout the trophic levels is the spotted owl, which is shown on the individual level, the population level, the community level, and the ecosystem level. Some biotic factors in the park are the grass, animals, and trees. Some abiotic factors in the park are the weather, the mountainous terrain, and water. Aquatic invasive species have become a limiting factor in the North Cascades. Some of these aquatic invasive species include the New Zealand mud snail and zebra mussels. These have made many ecological impacts and are decreasing the population numbers of native aquatic species. The physical environment includes a lot of mountainous terrain and many water features, including lakes and rivers. There are also many coniferous trees all over the park. The climate really depends on the season. This was the North Cascades.
Hi, I'm Kira Bache, and this is Katmai National Park. The biome's flowing freshwater. Katmai is in southern Alaska and Lincoln Peninsula Borough, Alaska. It was established on December 2nd, 1980. The park includes tundras, forests, lakes, and mountains. In the spring, summer, and autumn, the climate is normally wet and dry. In the winter, it is normally dry and cold. Some limiting factors are specifically in the tundra region of Katmai, such as permafrost, temperature, wind, and rain. Another limiting factor in Katmai is Mount Katmai, which is a volcano. Some populations that are thriving are the sockeye salmon, rainbow trout, brown bear, gray wolf, and sea otter. Although, of course, there are populations that are dying out, such as lesser yellowlegs, northern pintail, and parasitic yagars. Some invasive species in the park are common dandelion, sheep sorrel, and pineapple weed. My animal is the Ursus arctos, also known as the brown bear. In Katmai, you can spot them a lot around Brooks River, where they catch their prey. In population, you can see parasitism. There are fleas and worms on the bear. In the picture under it, there's a representation of predator-prey, where you can see an Ursus arctos catching a sockeye salmon. Also, in the back, there's an interaction between a bird and a tree. The picture below is a picture of bears at Brooks River. Some biotic factors are the Ursus arctos, trees, and shrubs. Some abiotic factors are water, rocks, and air. Underneath is a general view of Katmai. You can also see an interaction where a moose is eating some grass. In conclusion, this all exists on the biosphere. Thanks so much for listening to my presentation of Katmai.
This is the Denali National Park Boreal Forest. Some park information is that it is located in Alaska. It was established February 26, 1917. It is 9,492 square miles. Some of the points of interest are Wonder Lake, Lower Ruth Glacier, Forest Lakes, Savage River, Eielson's Interlocked Antlers, Black Diamond Gulf. It has over 600,000 visitors each year. The definition of a species is a group of organisms so similar to one another that they can breed and produce fertile offspring. The gray wolf is a common species in the Denali National Park. Their scientific name is Canis lupus and are part of the Canidae family. Wolves are one of the apex predators residing in the park. The definition of a population is the number of the same living things that live together in the same place. The wolf population lives and hunts together in packs. The packs are led by an alpha male and female. The definition of a community is an interacting group of various living organisms in a common location. Wolves and caribous live and interact together in a community. The definition of an ecosystem is a biological community of interacting organisms in their physical environment. Many interactions occur in the Denali forest ecosystem. An example of commensalism is that the snowshoe hare blends into the wood of the trees to hide from its predators. Another example of commensalism is that the snowshoe hare eats the bark from the trees to gain nutrients. An example of parasitism is that the wolf hunts and kills the caribou. An example of commensalism is that the bird takes shelter sitting on the trees. The definition of a biome is a community of plants and animals that have common characteristics for the environment they exist in. The Denali National Park takes place in a boreal forest biome. A boreal forest biome is a swamp-like forest that is covered in coniferous trees. The definition of a biosphere is the regions of the surface, atmosphere, and hydrosphere of the Earth occupied by living organisms. The biosphere of Earth is Earth. Some of the limiting factors is the climate. The park has long winters and short growing seasons, so it is difficult for plants to grow to the full potential of their size. Denali also has very poor and non-nutritious soil, which limits the growth of plants. Another limiting factor is predation. Because of the poor soil, at certain times there are less plants, which means less food for omnivores, lowering their population. Population dynamics is that there were about 51 wolves in the 13 packs that are being monitored by biologists, but the population has lowered since the previous years. The caribou population size is larger than ever. The moose population numbers are gradually increasing per year. Some invasive species are the yellow toadflax, birdvetch, white sweet clover. The consumers are wolves, caribou, snowshoe hares, and birds. The producers are flowers, trees, and shrubs. The biotic factors are wolves, caribou, birds, snowshoe hares, trees, and flowers. The abiotic factors are rocks, water, climate, and space.
This is Biscayne National Park, and I'm focusing on its coral reefs. Now, the species I am covering is the organism, the rock angelfish, also known as the rock beauty. Its scientific name is the holocanthus, and is part of the angelfish species, as seen by the shape of the fish. Like most fish, it comes in schools, and it can swim in freshwater, saltwater, free water, just ocean, and coral reefs, which is where it's mainly located in the park. Now, the community of it includes coral, obviously, algae, jellyfish, and nurse sharks. The main producer here is the algae, which is the only producer in this small community. And producers are basically, they don't eat, they create algae and fuel the entire ecosystem. Now, they're eaten by the angelfish and the jellyfish, and the jellyfish is also gets eaten by the angelfish, and the angelfish, everything gets eaten by the nurse shark, which all feels a pattern. And then the nurse shark dies, the entire process restarts, decomposers. The ecosystem includes the same species along with seaweed, sponges, tigerfish, and pollution and water pressure. Pollution and water pressure are abiotic limiting factors. They are not alive, but they still affect the environment, in good ways or not. Water pressure is good because it ensures that the fish live in the proper environment that they so choose. So it's not really high, considering coral reefs are usually 20 meters deep. And pollution, we're not doing so well on that. It's destroying our environment. Luckily, Biscayne is protected by the National Parks Recreation Association, so pollution doesn't affect it too much. And tigerfish is a biotic limiting factor, basically because it's an invasive species and it's just eating too much, a lot of algae and seaweed, which are the main producers of the ecosystem, which is basically destroying their population. And other than that, the starfish is eating coral, which is parasitism because it's destroying the colonies of coral reefs. It actually has destroyed a lot of colonies, but luckily we have a low amount of them. Sponges are they're producers. They're eaten by jellyfish, and their shark eats all of it. And the biome is coral reefs. It's an aquatic region. It's because it's underwater. It has a lot of diverse fish, corals, and different life forms. And it's all in the biosphere. Everything exists within the biosphere of the Earth. I hope you enjoy my presentation of the Biscayne National Park. It's a wonderful park with 300 square miles of land just to float, and I hope you visit it. Thank you.
So my national park project is on Shenandoah Park. It's a park in Virginia, around 50 miles north of Washington, D.C. Around 1 million people visit it per year, and it's very popular to hike on the Appalachian trails and on the mountains. So at my park, there's over hundreds of species of animals, and with so many animals has to come interactions between them. So, for example, an example of mutualism would be a bear and lice. The lice eats debris on the bear's fur, and the bear benefits because it's clean, and the bear provides a home for the lice. An example of commensalism over here, if you can see, is there's lichen on the tree right there. So lichen benefits because it has somewhere to grow and it doesn't harm the tree at all. An example of parasitism are these fleas right here and the wolf. The fleas make the wolf itch and get the wolf dirty and feel dirty, and there's nothing that the wolf can really do about it. An example of predator-prey would be this bear and the deer. Some biotic factors of my park are trees, peregrine falcons, and centipedes. And some abiotic factors are dirt, rocks, and water. So population dynamics have been affected in my park because of climate change. So climate change has caused forest fires, and these forest fires are out of control, and they have started to destroy land instead of refreshing it like forest fires are usually meant to do when they're natural. But since they're not natural and caused by humans, they're destroying the land and putting the Shenandoah salamander in risk of becoming extinct. And slowly, over time, humans have introduced non-native species. For example, the hemlock woolly adelgid is an insect that has started eating the hemlock plants, which has also made the plant a limited factor in the park since it's being eaten and destroyed by these plants. So homes are getting destroyed, and yeah. And in my park, adaptation is needed to survive. For example, the deer mouse has learned to adapt to high altitudes and being able to extract oxygen from the air, which has helped it survive and thrive in the park. So that's my park. Thanks for listening.
This is the Redwood Forest National Park, and an animal that lives in the Redwood Forest National Park is the black-tailed deer. The black-tailed deer is a consumer, and it's an herbivore, which means it basically only eats plants. And a population is a group of the same species. So like a bunch of black-tailed deer makes up a population, and they usually travel in bunches to stay away from predators. A community would be multiple species, like together, living together in the same place, and the coyote and the deer are living in the same forest, and the coyote hunts the deer. An ecosystem is where plants and animals live together, and like other abiotic factors like rocks and other things like in their environment. It's like where they live. And so the raccoon is like hiding behind the rock because the owl can eat it, or the owl is resting on the tree, and the deer is eating the plant, and they're all just interacting, and it's creating an ecosystem. Um, a a biome is a community of plants and animals that have similar characteristics. So like all the trees have similar characteristics. They all like a lot of the animals have like some of the same characteristics, and not just they live in the same place. The biosphere is the part of Earth where they all live, and so they live in Northern California, which that's where the Redwood Forest National Park is. And some of the trees that are in the redwood forest are redwood trees and Douglas fir trees, and they kind of dominate the area. And the limiting factors are like the population density, because if too many trees grow in one area, it'll make it harder for the smaller trees to grow, and then the deer will have nothing to eat since they eat the smaller trees, and it can just like one little thing can just throw off um the whole ecosystem and the whole environment and like national park. And yeah.
Hello, my name is Andrew Reyes, and for the Ecological Pyramid Project, I chose Yellowstone National Park. Now, to start, we have background information. So, Yellowstone is mainly located in Wyoming and partly in Idaho and Montana. And the big appeal for this park is that it's an eco-friendly section full of different types of plants and animals. Now, for the actual pyramid, we have individual at the very top, starting with the gray wolf, also scientifically known as the Canis lupus, a family of gray wolves. A community could be the Engelmann tree and the organisms living in and around it. An ecosystem would be Yellowstone Lake, with multiple different communities and multiple different environments inside. And the biome would be the temperate grasslands, most common for its diverse vegetation as well as different types of animals. And of course, the biosphere is our planet Earth, encompassing all 5 pyramid levels listed above. For abiotic and biotic limiting factors, there are, for an abiotic limiting factor, it could be carrying capacity. In the early 1940s, deers became overpopulated and destroyed the land, so gray wolves were reintroduced, and that helped grow the environment back. Gray wolves are also limiting factors because they're predators to deer, so while they may help the environment as a whole, they do harm elk. For exploring and touring, most famous spot would be Old Faithful Geyser because it's most famous for its explosive eruptions of water. Yellowstone Lake is also a great place to visit because if you want to see this ecological pyramid in action, this would be the best place to do it because you can see all the dynamic interactions between different organisms. Speaking of interactions, we have the 4 types, predator and prey, and you see gray wolves hunt elk. Mutualism, bees get their nectar from Louis monkey flower, and they spread the pollen to other plants to help grow it. Commensalism would be birds being able to build their nests on trees. And parasitism would be deer ticks sucking the blood for sustenance out of deers while harming them in the process. And yeah, that's basically the Yellowstone National Park. As you can see, this is a very ecologically friendly environment as it holds different types of species of organisms. And I hope you can see why this park is amazing.
My national park is the Biscayne National Park located in Florida. 95% of Biscayne is underwater. It protects 10,000 years of human history in the Florida Keys. Biscayne was established on June 28, 1980. Many people did not want Biscayne to become a national park. Biscayne offers many recreational and cultural activities such as snorkeling, diving, canoeing, kayaking, wildlife viewing, camping, and hiking. 19 million visitors have come to the park since it opened. Biscayne has a subtropical climate which ensures sunshine year-round. A biosphere is the regions of the surface, atmosphere, and hydrosphere of the Earth occupied by living things. Biscayne's biosphere is the Earth. A biome is a community of plants and animals that have common characteristics for the environment they exist in. Biscayne's biome is a coral reef. An ecosystem is a biological community of interacting organisms in their physical environment. One of the many ecosystems in Biscayne is the mangrove forest. Mangrove trees grow along the banks of rivers in the park. A community is an interacting group of various living organisms in their physical environment. One community in the park is a mangrove tree. Under the water, mangrove trees provide shelter and nutrients to worms, snails, mussels, and fish. On top of the trees, different species of birds use the mangroves to nest. A population is a number of the same living things that live together in the same place. An example of a population in Biscayne is the West Indian manatees. These manatees travel in groups or pairs. The last level of the ecological pyramid is an individual. Individual is a group of individuals so similar that they can produce fertile offspring. An example of an individual is a West Indian manatee. West Indian manatees sustain on plants that grow at water's edge. The population of West Indian manatees are slowly decreasing. Some of the many interactions in Biscayne National Parks are brown pelicans and mangrove trees. This is an example of commensalism. Another example of commensalism is coral and fish. Fish use the coral to camouflage, and the fish benefit, but the coral is not benefited or harmed. One example of parasitism is manatees and the parasites that live in their stomachs. One other example is predator-prey. Manatees are herbivores and eat kelp. In the park, there are many invasive species. One invasive species in the park is the lionfish. Dying species in the park include elkhorn coral, staghorn coral, American crocodile, green sea turtle, brown pelican, and small-toothed sawfish. One example of a limiting factor is water temperature or salt levels. One example of a biotic factor in the park is seaweed. One example of an abiotic factor is sunlight. One example of a producer in the park is phytoplankton. One example of a consumer is a West Indian manatee. Biscayne offers many cultural and recreational activities to do.
This is the Rocky Mountain National Park, established on January 26, 1915, just outside Estes Park, Colorado. The climate is usually mild, but it can reach high temperatures as well as have snowfall in the higher altitudes and trails. Altitude sickness is common. There are 6 ecological levels. The first is individual, a single living organism. A common individual found in the park is the beaver. The next level is population. Beaver families live together in colonies in lodges. The third level is community, an interacting group of varying individuals in a common place. Beavers cut down trees to build dams, to improve water quality, and to create space to lay eggs and for habitats. The fourth level is ecosystem, a biological community of interacting individuals. Beavers live in ponds and streams and are herbivores. Coyotes, owls, and hawks are some common predators here. The fifth is biome, a community of plants and animals with common characteristics for their environment. The park is in the subalpine forest biome. The sixth and last level is biosphere, regions of surface and atmosphere of Earth occupied by organisms. We are in Earth's biosphere. In the pyramid, you can see 4 organism interactions. 1. Parasitism. This tick on the beaver can transmit diseases such as tularemia, which causes death. 2. Competition. Beavers, pikas, hares, and moose all compete for vegetation. 3. Predator-prey. Coyotes, bears, wolverines, otters, hawks, owls, and eagles all eat beavers. 4. Mutualism. Beavers cut down trees, which cause forest regeneration and habitat improvement. 2 producers found in the park are the Rocky Mountain juniper and the Colorado blue columbine. 2 consumers are bighorn sheep and mule deer. Affecting factors found in the park are water and air quality, which affect the views and health of all the animals and visitors. Forest health is also important to keep all the plants alive. Some animal population dynamics are that bighorn sheep were rapidly declining in the 1880s and almost reached extinction from hunting and disease, but they rebounded in the 2000s. Beaver population has also been declining for the past 50 years, and scientists don't know why for sure, but one explanation is that due to the tough competition for vegetation, it's really hard and they're dying out. There's so much to see and do at the Rocky Mountain National Park.
Hi, I'm Anya, and my national park is Haleakala National Park in Maui, Hawaii. My national park includes 4 biomes: the tropical dry forest, rainforest, alpine, and subalpine. Haleakala National Park was established on July 1st of 1961 and is home to the world's largest dormant volcano, over 10,000 feet above sea level. The temperature ranges from the low 40s to the mid-60s in the dry forest biome. The rainy season is from November to March, however, rain is very limited there. Visitors can hike to the summit area to view the expansive volcanic crater and camp there as well. Some limiting factors include the amounts of rain, temperature, climate, and deforestation. Now we will talk about the pyramid. First off, we have our biosphere. For biosphere, I drew Earth because it includes all of our other divisions up here. For biome, I have my tropical dry forest, which covers 2,500 square miles. We have the ecosystem, in which there is a lot going on here. We have our pueo owl, a species native to Hawaii, a rat because pueo owls eat rats, a mongoose, earthworms, and mongoose eat earthworms, another predatory relationship, and koa trees, another species native to Hawaii, and various types of shrubs. For the koa tree, we have a parasitic relationship. The sandalwood tree and the koa tree compete for nutrients in their roots. For communities, I drew the 3 footprints of the consumers, the pueo owl, the mongoose, and the rat. And the arrows are because the pueo owl eats rats and the mongoose does as well, like I said, in the ecosystem. For populations, I drew multiple pueo owls because it represents the population. The population is endangered, however. The population is decreasing because pueo owls nest on the ground, and their eggs are being disturbed by rats and mongoose who were introduced to the island. Besides that, other reasons to their decline has been because of disease, habitat loss, and collision with other vehicles. For individual, there is a individual owl on a koa tree, an example of commensalism. The difference between pueo owls and barn owls is that pueo owls are smaller, broader, and darker than barn owls, who are lighter in color. Pueo owls are also a subspecies of the short-eared owl and are also found in Hawaii. To many Hawaiians, the pueo owl is considered a symbol of good luck and protection. And that is all for my pyramid. Thank you for watching.
This is the Dry Tortugas National Park. It is located in the Gulf of Mexico, Florida, and was established in October 26, 1992. Tortuga means turtles and was named after the large population of green sea turtles found. The Dry Tortuga climate has 2 seasons, wet and dry. The subtropical climate is warm, humid, rainy summers, and mild, dry winters. The Dry Tortuga has 6 levels. The first is individual, which is a single living organism. The native organism in the Dry Tortugas National Reef is the green sea turtle. The second is population, the number of the same living organisms that live together in the same place. The green sea turtles are generally solitary creatures that remain submerged for much of their time at sea. Green sea turtles can sleep under rocks or ledges. The third is community, interacting groups of various individuals in a common place. Many aquatic plants and aquatic animals coexist together in the coral reef. One is the impact of the green sea turtles on green seagrass beds. While eating, they help maintain healthy seagrass beds. The fourth is ecosystem, biological community of interacting organisms in their physical environment. Green sea turtles live in coral reefs. They eat seagrass and algae. Nurse sharks are common predators. The fifth is a biome, a community of plants and animals that have common characteristics in their environment. The national park is an archipelago of small islands off the Florida Keys. It is subtropical. The last is biosphere, regions of the surface and atmosphere of the Earth occupied by living organisms. The national park is part of the biosphere. There are 4 interactions: predator and prey, Nurse sharks are common predators. Mutualism. Green sea turtles feeding on grass beds. Commensalism. Green sea turtles provide food for fish by their shell collecting algae. The clownfish benefits from the sea anemone by having a home, and the clownfish protects the sea anemone. Producers are algae and seagrass. Consumers are corals, green sea turtles, nurse sharks, octopi, and moon jellies. Fort Jefferson and the coral reef is what makes up the dry tortugas. Green sea turtle population is an overall declining trend. Nearly all the species of green sea turtles are classified as endangered.
Hello, my name is Gazelle, and my park is Mount Rainier National Park. So the individual that I chose is a coyote, and in the population, we don't know exactly how many coyotes there are in Mount Rainier, but we know that there's about 20,000 in the United States. In the community, we have a parasite, an earthworm, a cascade frog, a varied thrush. We have a western hemlock, a trillium, and a coyote in the ecosystem. So it's a mountain range also with grasslands, and the coyotes usually live in dens in the grasslands. So in the biome is very cold, and it could rain most of any time of the year. The biome is a temperate woodland and shrubland, so there are many trees and everything that grow in the biome. Then in the biosphere, so it is located on Earth, just like many other organisms that live here. So Mount Rainier is also located on Earth. And the interactions, so a coyote eating a varied thrush, which is right here, a cascade frog, and an earthworm is a type of predator-prey. Then a parasite on a coyote is a type of parasitism. So consumers, also called heterotrophs, acquire energy from other organisms. A varied thrush and a coyote are types of consumers because they get energy from other organisms. Producers, also called heterotrophs, can make their own food from the sun. A trillium and a western hemlock are types of producers because they can get chemicals from the sun. Limiting factors. A limiting factor on Mount Rainier is poor air quality. Air quality impacts have occurred in the poor park due to recreational use and is a concern. Location and activities. Mount Rainier National Park is located in Washington. It was established on March 2nd, 1899. Many can go wildflower viewing, and there's also hiking and on trails and like a railroad. The climate and about it. So at 14,140 feet, it is the most prominent peak in the Cascade Range. It dominates the landscape of a large part of Washington, and the climate is usually cold and rainy. So this is my project, and I hope you like it. Thank you.
My national park project is on Yosemite National Park. One species in Yosemite National Park is the American black bear, or Ursus americanus. It is a consumer omnivore and eats grass, berries, and nuts. It also eats fish and small mammals, which is an example of a predator-prey relationship. A population is a group of organisms of the same species living in the same area. American black bears travel in families when the female has babies. The female takes care of the cubs until they are 17 months old. A community is a group of organisms of different species that lives in the same area. An example of a community is Mirror Lake, which has trout, trees, and beavers. Water is a limiting factor because during the summer there is less water from melted snow, and fish have less food and space to swim. The limiting factors for beavers is trees because beavers only stay in Mirror Lake when there are trees to eat. Trees are producers and make their own food by photosynthesis. An ecosystem is the organisms in an area plus the non-living things and the environment. Yosemite Valley contains communities that interact with each other and abiotic things like streams. One invasive plant is the yellow star thistle. It uses up soil and space instead of native species, which is competition. One endangered species is the Sierra Nevada bighorn sheep. It is endangered due to human activity. An example of parasitism is the worms living in crickets and beetles. The worm lives in the insect for a few months until it kills it. The eastern kingbird lives in elm trees and makes a nest in it. This is commensalism because the bird benefits and has a home, but the tree does not benefit but isn't harmed. A biome is a group of ecosystems with similar climate and organisms with similar characteristics. Yosemite is a temperate woodland and shrubland biome. It has fields of flowers surrounded by oak and other trees. And in the woodland zone, the forest has low density with lots of sunlight. A biosphere is multiple biomes and organisms in atmosphere and hydrosphere. Earth is a biosphere. The atmosphere is the layers of the gases surrounding Earth, and the hydrosphere is all of the waters on Earth's surface. Yosemite National Park was established on October 1, 1890 by John Muir. It is located in central Sierra Nevadas of California and was carved out by glaciers. Half Dome is one of the most well-known rock formations. During the summer, it is around 87 degrees Fahrenheit, and in the winter, it often snows and is around 30 degrees Fahrenheit. The annual rainfall is about 36 inches, and the annual snowfall is about 35 inches.
Hello, my name is Neil Suvarna, and my park was the Redwood National Park. Its location is in the Northern California coast. Redwood National Park was made in 1968 to protect endangered species such as the northern spotted owl and the Steller sea lion. Some populous tourist destinations include the Stratosphere Giant, a 370-foot tall redwood tree, the Lost Monarch, the largest redwood by volume with a volume of 42,500 cubic feet, and the entire coastal area, which is home to many diverse species. The park's biome is mostly temperate coniferous forest, with the exception of the coast, which is a seacoast biome. An ecosystem that can be found in the park is a meadow, which is home to deer and other small creatures such as squirrels. There are many small streams that run through the park, which are communities. Animals from all over the park get much of their water from these streams. Such an example of a population found in the park is a golden eagle nest. These nests are where the golden eagle tends to her young and are home to only one species, which is a golden eagle. Some interactions between organisms in the park are between the Glomerocauda fungi and the redwood tree. The fungi attaches to the roots and gains sugar, while the redwood tree gains an increased surface area to absorb nutrients. Another interaction is between redwoods and smaller plants. Smaller plants grow beneath the redwood tree and are sheltered from the salty winds, while the redwood tree does not benefit. An example of a predator-prey interaction is between the mountain lion and the deer. The mountain lion preys on the deer. An example of parasitism is between the deer ticks and deer. The deer ticks attach to deer and suck their blood, which harms the deer and benefits the deer tick. The mountain lion was the individual that I chose. Its Latin name is Puma concolor. It's about 2 to 3 feet tall at the shoulder and is 6.5 to 7.5 feet in length. These creatures are rarely seen in the park and only spotted about 20 to 30 times a year. A species that has been on the rise in Redwood National Park is the New Zealand mud snail. This invasive species is quickly taking over the native snail species in the park, mostly due to the fact that they can have up to 40 million offspring in 1 year. A declining species is the Roosevelt elk. Their population rate of growth decreased by 30% between 1997 and 2010. The species is mostly confined to a small area of 90 square kilometers, so we can assume that they have reached or are nearing the carrying capacity for their habitat.